Call this meeting to order. Could we have a roll call, please?
Councilmember Hahn,
Here.
Hogue,
Here.
Blackwell,
Here.
Hopkins,
Here.
Von Breithorst. Here.
Okay, thank you. We'll have the invocation now from Reverend Blake Coates and followed by the Pledge of Allegiance, led by Ginger Taylor.
Let's lift up our hearts in prayer. O loving, liberating, and life-giving God, we raise our hearts in prayer to you this evening. We give you thanks for the many blessings of our common lives together in this place. We pray for our city of Weiser and the surrounding communities. May they continue to be places where your people live in peace and joy. In this time of service, may our mayor and council have patience, understanding, and vision for the work given them to do. We thank you for each of them, for Mayor Randy, for councilors Sterling, Katie, Larry, Mike, Herb, and Margie. Give them a love and passion for their mission. Ease their challenges and the obstacles that confront them. Give to them the ability to make progress and inspire and motivate the people in our community. Let them experience God's Spirit to strengthen them in their servant leadership. We ask your blessing also for all others who assist in the administration and operation and improvement of this city. Inspire, bless, and protect them as they serve. Spirit divine, attend our prayers and make our hearts your home. Descend with all your gracious power. Oh, come, great Spirit, come. Amen.
Amen.
I pledge allegiance
to the flag of the United States of America
and to the republic for which it stands,
one
nation under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you, Blake. Thank you, Ginger. Do we have any commission reports?
Yes,
We do.
we do.
Okay.
Not as many though. I've been a little busy this month.
Okay.
Our Weiser Economic Development Committee has met, and we are the ones who have kind of spiked one of our items later on in the agenda regarding the Maverick sign. So we'll talk more about that later, but that's kind of been this last month's mission, along with us preparing our letters that we're going to send out to our businesses in the area. The animal shelter group is in discussions with Pacific Railroad, and so they are crossing fingers and making hopes that they're able to continue that discussion with them, working with that property so that they can potentially look at the shelter space there, and are doing great things in earning funds to be able to do that. And the Preservation or Historic Preservation Committee, if you made it to the Christmas parade, which I did not because I was running my show, but if you made it to that, we are very proud of the lights that we got on the train depot, and we want to thank the city, especially the electric department, for the use of the bucket truck to be able to do that, so that it could, we feel, supplement and make our downtown a little bit brighter during the season. So if you haven't seen it at night, we hope that you get to see that while they're up for the season. And I lose track of all the ones I'm on, so I don't know. I would give the library report, but I didn't think I needed to, and then I'm not here, so. It was busy, very busy. That's all I got this month.
Thanks, Sterling. Thanks for all you do.
Yeah, sorry.
All right. Do we have any committee reports? Yes.
Well, first of all, as far as the library goes, I did attend their open house that was last week. I know I'm a proud owner of Jar Jam and some kind of ointment for my lips that they were selling, and I'm short several dollars for raffle tickets, so it must have been a success.
Look at you.
Anyway, the
Support
library
Wendy and her kids.
library looked great, and unlike Sterling, I don't get there much, but it looked great, and everybody seemed to be having a good time. So I'm also the liaison to the Snake River Economic Development Alliance for the city, and SRETA for short. since I don't know if I can say that twice. Anyway, Sarita had their annual meeting last month, and included in that annual meeting were a couple presentations on housing information in the area, both a historical sales record, both for not only the city of Weiser, but for the other major cities that Sarita served. I find the information very helpful and very interesting. I was able to get a copy of the PowerPoint presentations that were done at the annual meeting, and Natasha is going to send that information to all of you. If you have any questions, after you get it, I'd certainly be willing to share whatever I can remember from the meeting, but I think you'll find it interesting, and it's the historical sales information is over 5, 6, 7 year period. So, and it's based on MLS sales. So, if there was a private sale or something like that, that probably didn't get included in their database. But anything that was done through a realtor is, so keep that in mind. But it's a good indicator of how we're doing compared to the surrounding communities, and what the trend is for our community.
Thank you, Larry. Any other committee reports? And we have the department reports.
These are department reports for November 2024. Not working. Okay, so we have 52 full-time employees, 4 part-time. The Weiser Police Department had 18 arrests with 18 of those being misdemeanor. Again, the kids were good. The citations were 74 total, 11 misdemeanor, and 63 infraction. There was 558 calls for service, 370 case reports, 18 misdemeanor, 10 incident, and 10 accident, and 9 incident. There was 22 dog complaints. There was 4 impounded, 5 returned to owner, 4 adopted, 1 transferred out, 4 cat complaints, 2 impounded, 1 adopted, and the feral cat TNR program did take care of 2 cats. They transferred out 3, and we had 2 wildlife. City of Weiser ordinance complaints: 0 weed, 0 junk and debris, 1 abandoned vehicle, 7 parking, 2 camper occupancy. Wastewater November flow for 2023 was $30,980,000. November's flow for 2024 was $29,740,000, with November's average daily being $990,000. The wastewater hauled 87 tons of biosolids to Clay Peak. Dave Anderson finished the sewer main replacement on East Commercial, and they installed a rebuilt 200 horsepower motor in the blower building. The water department's water production for November 2023 was $12,966,000. November of 2024 was $13,288,000. The water department did hire 2 new employees, moved 7 water services from 6-inch main to 10-inch main on East Commercial. They pulled the riverbank check valves and raised the fire hydrant at Treasure Valley Farms. The electric department's power consumption for October of 2023 was 4,038,423 kilowatts. October of 2024 was 4,056,802 kilowatts. The electric department replaced damaged light pole on East 4th, where a semi had hit the pole, and we were able to find them and cite them for a hit and run. They installed outlets on the poles at the park for surveillance cameras. They raised the primary wires for cutouts for Treasure Valley Farms and installed a new pole. And they helped install Christmas lights around town. The street department finished alley cleanup, started annual leaf pickup, put up the holiday decorations, set up traffic control for Christmas parade, and prepped the trench on East Commercial for traffic. The rec department, youth basketball is in full swing. They had 7 teams as well as 50 girls attending the girls clinic. 6 men's league teams this season. currently taking registration for women's volleyball. Indoor soccer is ongoing. Elks Hoop Shoot is scheduled for December 14th at the middle school. Building department had 8 building permits this month, 7 single-family dwellings, 1 residential garage. Dave did 17 inspections and 7 consults. Mayor and City Council, that concludes your department reports for November 2024.
Thank you.
And I meant to mention the animal shelter, they did 14 trap neuter releases this last month. So they're also still working on that as a side note, not just trying to find a shelter, but still doing their trap and release. So,
Super.
taking care of those kitties.
Okay. You all had a chance to look at the minutes for the last meeting. Is there anyone who would like to make a motion?
I would move that we accept the meetings as presented.
Second.
Okay. To be moved and seconded, all in favor?
Aye.
All opposed? Motion passed. And has the finance committee had a chance to look at the bills?
Yes, they have. We reviewed the invoices that were submitted, that we're going to give to the treasurer to draw the vouchers, make the vouchers and have the mayor sign them.
Is there a second to that?
Second.
Okay. It's been moved and seconded. Could we have a roll call, please?
Councilmember Von Redhorst,
Yes.
Han,
Yes.
Poe,
Yes.
Blackwell,
Yes.
Hopkins.
Yes.
Okay, motion passed. You speak first, and then we'll ask for public comment.
Okay. Well, thank you so much for letting me be here via Teams tonight. I had knee replacement surgery and I'm still recovering from that, so I appreciate the leniency of letting me appear via screen. I work with Region 4 Development. I wrote the grant application for this project, and I also administer this project. This meeting is a requirement through the Idaho Department of Commerce as part of the grant. The city was awarded $250,000 to improve Memorial Park. The conditions at the time of the application, Memorial Park has a very large play structure in the middle of it, and I'm sure you guys have all been over there and seen that. The city made some modifications and taken some parts away from the structure that were no longer safe. I think they were able to replace some parts, but it got too price prohibitive to have anything manufactured to keep that structure safe and to be used for many more years. So the city began working with the playground equipment vendor. At the time of the application, we have to come up with the costs, do a cost estimate to show that the grant will be fully used. And the city decided what parts they wanted. Decided to replace the whole large structure and a fence. And they really wanted to add 2 permanent cornhole games and a ping pong table that was permanent as well. So the city applied for and was awarded that grant. The scope of work included demolition of playground equipment by the city, installation of new playground equipment and ground cover, and then the installation of 4-foot fence around the playground. Requirements of the grant, we were required to complete an environmental review that was completed in January of 2024, and the Idaho Department of Commerce signed off on that February 12, 2024. Grant administrative services, in order to get those, the city followed the micro purchase process that's laid out in the ICDBG administration handbook, and that the city selected Region 4 Development to complete this as of their September 11th, 2023 council meeting. Any recipient of these types of grants are required to have certified administrators that administer the project, and we have several in our office. Design professional services, for that, the city followed the competitive negotiation proposal process, and RFPs, request for proposals, that was published in the Weiser Signal American on April 3rd and 10th. All proposals were due by 2 p.m. on April 18th, 2024. We also sent a solicitation notice to the Idaho Procurement Technical Assistance Center, letting them know that that RFP was out there. Proposals were received from 2 different playground equipment vendors. The city council scored the proposals and chose Great Western Installations as they scored the highest. The notice of award was signed May 13th, 2024. The construction portion, the contract between the city and Great Western Installations was prepared by us and approved by Idaho Department of Commerce. Normally we have an engineer that does all this stuff on projects, but on these small projects for playgrounds, we don't have, it doesn't make any sense to pay an engineer. So we do our best. We work with Commerce and try to make sure that we cover all the bases that engineers normally do. So that contract was signed May 15th, 2024. Equipment was shipped in August to the site, and we had a pre-construction meeting August 20th at 2 p.m. at Memorial Park. At that time, the city had already demolished all of the old playground structure, and they had everything cleared out so that a contractor could come in and install the new equipment. JSP Contractors was hired by Great Western Installations to install the playground equipment and install the fence. The contractor decided that they would not have time to do the fence, and they tried to find a subcontractor but were not able to find one. So at that point, they went back to Great Western Installations and asked them if they could find a fencing company to install the fence. At that time, Certified Fencing was hired to install that fence. All the work was completed by November 6th, 2024. There was a glitch with the permanent coupon table. It was stated very clearly at the beginning that this needed to be a permanent structure. What was shipped to the city was not a permanent structure. Great Western Installations was not able to find a satisfactory alternative. Everything that they found was just far too expensive. So the city decided to refuse the item and return it to them, and a change order of to reduce the contract by $2,200 was signed November 4th, 2024. It was just decided that that would be taken out, and then we would just move forward to close the project out. Furthering fair housing actions, the fair housing resources person is Natasha McDaniel, the city clerk. Fair housing resolution was adopted September 11th, 2023, and published on November 22nd, 2023. The city also declared April as Fair Housing Month, the most recent being April of 2024. And the city has fair housing information publicly available at City Hall, and I will be sending additional information to Natasha. Citizen participation is required. When you guys got ready to do the grant application, we had to have a public hearing to discuss what the city was applying for and where the funds would be used if you did get awarded. Then there's a second public hearing, which is today, that's required just to explain where funds went and the whole process of the project. So we're conducting that today. The project budget, the overall budget was $295,754. Of that, $250,000 was the grant from Idaho Community Development Block Grant. The city committed $7,754 to the project. They also committed city in kind of $8,000, and that was to cover the demolition of the fence and all of the equipment, the playground equipment that was being taken out. They also committed a Blue Cross Foundation grant of $30,000, and that total is the $295,754. All the playground equipment and surfacing has been completed. Funds expended at this time, the CDBG funds of $240,390 have been expended. We will also be expending $9,610 in that. That will be a final invoice from Region 4 Development for our services. City cash that's been spent is $7,754. And of that $30,000 Blue Cross Foundation grant, $11,221 has been spent. The city has not provided the breakdown of in-kind hours yet. I will collect that before I can close out the grant. And I will be preparing the whole closeout documents, and that will be sent to City Council to review and approve at a later time. Funds committed by the city but not expended are due to cost savings compared to the original estimates. So the city will not be required to pay out any additional funds other than what has been spent right now. And that is my overview. Does anybody have any questions?
So this is Larry Hope. The total amount that you gave, $290-some thousand, is that including the reduction for the table that wasn't purchased?
Table? No, that included. That was our original estimates of cost, and we have to show where all of those funds are coming from. So that was the original budget.
Okay, so I guess which source of funds were reduced then by $2,200? Was it money that the city put up? Was it grant money?
It would come out of the Blue Cross Foundation grant, so it was a savings in that area.
Okay, so their grant was just not for quite as much as we thought it was going to be.
You guys still have that money available in that grant. You don't
Okay,
have to
but for this project, then the amount they put in was just a little less.
Yes.
Thank you.
Yes, we have those funds.
And Mike discussed maybe getting a ping pong table later with those funds, if that's what you guys choose to use it for. He waited and waited for them to come up with an alternative, but it was just way too expensive, so it didn't make sense to, keep getting the grant out, not close the project, waiting for that.
Well, thank you for your help with this and for managing it. We appreciate it, and the community appreciates it too, so thank you.
This was a great project. You guys are really awesome to work with, and I appreciate all of the support that everybody from the city has given me and helped me out with the project. I think the final product is really nice, and you guys should have that to use for many, many years. So,
Dean, I really appreciate your help. It has been great working with you. And for everyone's information, this process between Adina and I started over here at the Vendome at the Rural Business Summit last year. Or it was last year, the year
it's
before.
been 2 years.
But anyway, she happened to mention something about grants about playgrounds, and so I looked her up at the break, and that's how this got started.
That's awesome. Thank you, Mayor.
So thank you very much,
I'm glad we could
Adina.
help you.
You've been great.
thank you.
Thank you. Okay, now we'll open it up for public comments. Is there anyone who'd like to make comments in favor of this? Hearing none, we'll go on to neutral comments. Hearing none, we'll go on to negative comments. Don't everybody jump up at once. Okay. Okay, since there are no comments, we'll go ahead and close out the public hearing portion of this. And we will then consider resolution 698, status of funded activities for the CDBG grant, CARES grant.
Do you have to read this out?
Nope, it's on an ordinance, it's a resolution.
Mr. Mayor, I motion that we accept resolution 698, the status of funded activities for the CDBG CARES grant.
And I second.
Okay, it's been moved and seconded. Could we have a roll call, please?
Councilmember Hoag,
Yes.
Hopkins,
Yes.
Blackwell,
Yes.
Han,
Yes.
Von Brentworth.
Yes.
Okay, motion passed. Thank you, everyone, and thank you, Adina, and we look forward to working with you again.
Yes.
All right.
Thank you, Dana.
Till next time.
Yes, till next time.
Thank you, Adina.
Bye.
Okay, we will now move on to the recommendation for Thompson special use in the area of impact. And Natasha, could you talk to us about that?
Sure. So this is a special use to place a dwelling on a property that's in the area of impact. The reason it needs a special use is because the county basically says that if it's a 1 acre lot, you can place it on there, or if it's a 20 acre lot, you can place it on there, but anywhere in between there has to have a special use. So
And this one is 4.9.
4.9, it's like just right under 5 acres. So it needs a special use to be able to place a dwelling on them. And the council is just making a recommendation to the county planning and zoning, and then it will go through the process of planning and zoning at the county level and then to the commissioners.
And to clarify my understanding, this is a property that had been subdivided before. There's still one building allowed,
Permitted,
permitted, according to theirs, and this would take it by it being a single residence, not a duplex or something of the sort.
And this has been through P and Z?
Yes, and I do believe that they recommended in favor of.
Okay.
Yeah, Mayor, my recollection is the Planning and Zoning Commission recommended that. We recommend approval of this application unanimously. It was their, so they were unanimous in the recommendation, excuse me.
Oh, they were unanimous.
Sorry, I knew what I meant.
They told us we had to be unanimous. Don't tell me how to vote. Okay, understood.
Okay, I think we're clear on that then. Okay. So are there any questions or comments on this?
Mayor, I move to recommend to the Washington County Commissioners that the application by, hold on, I gotta get the
Thompson
right
special
page.
use.
Thompson special use permit, that we recommend to the Washington County Commissioners that request be approved.
I second our recommendation of approval for that
Okay.
proposal.
Okay. Since this does not involve money, we can just do a voice vote. All in favor?
Aye.
All opposed? Well, you got your unanimous vote there.
You know, if you don't ask for it, you're never gonna get it.
Okay. Next up is to consider the county reconsideration of use property at 343 East Main. And I believe we have one of the commissioners here to talk about that.
Can't talk about it, it's not a public hearing.
Oh, it's not public hearing.
No,
Okay.
this is just,
It's
yeah.
just reconsidering.
Yeah.
Thank you for keeping me in line.
not a problem.
Okay.
She needs
Wanted-
a crutch.
Tried to give you a chance there.
Thank
you. Okay, so you have the material before you. So what are your thoughts?
Well, Mayor, I'll start out. First of all, it was, their request is a little confusing to me because on the one hand, they want us to reconsider our decision September 23rd, 24, which was a request for a special
Conditional use.
permit. And then they go on to say that they don't think they are required to have a conditional use permit. And but I think we can get around that. I think we can make a decision regardless of that, because they're basically, I think, asking us to be able to put the prosecuting attorney's office in a building in residential property. They point out that in Article 10.7.1 that permitted uses include parks, playgrounds, libraries, community centers, and similar uses owned and operated by a governmental agency, including police, fire, and postal substations. And then go on to say that basically, since the prosecuting attorney is part of law enforcement, that having this entity, I guess, in the structure is a police substation. So, if I can find my notes here. I found a police substation definition. It said, it basically says any building or part of building which a chief of police or sheriff says is to be used as a substation at which duly authorized officers perform law enforcement functions. And then law enforcement, I found a definition of law enforcement functions. It says the primary duties of law enforcement include the investigation, apprehension, and detention of individuals suspected of criminal offenses. And the glaring omission there is the term prosecution, which is what the prosecuting attorney does. And then I thought, why would we, in our ordinance, have provision for anything of this nature in a residential area? And the thing is, and this is just my opinion, the only thing I can think of is that, is to have a police station or a fire station that is in a location different than the primary fire or police station to provide better service for the people who live in the surrounding area. And basically, because those services are able to be provided from a closer point, those services may well even enhance the value of the properties of the neighbors, or at least be neutral to the value of those properties. And that's what our ordinance is designed to do, is to protect property owners, is to make sure, I've said before, when you buy a piece of property in the city of Weiser, you agree to abide by the rules, and we as a city organization agree to make sure everyone else does as well. And so hopefully we're doing the right thing to keep everybody's property value either steady or increasing. And I guess I just don't see how having a prosecuting attorney's office in a residential area enhances, or at worst keeps it even by providing additional services. It doesn't, the prosecuting attorney's office can be anywhere, doesn't, you know, this is a residential lot. We've made allowances in our ordinance to allow for better services to be provided through police and fire locations that are remote. To me, doing that for a prosecuting attorney's office provides no benefit to our citizens, and may well negatively impact the value of their property, especially the ones closer to it, to the facility. And although, you know, I don't have, you know, the as far as having an owner be the county and taking care of the property and doing what they can to, you know, to keep it up and all that, you know, I don't have a problem with that. I just don't think that that their request to put a prosecuting attorney's office in a residential area is something that we should allow, because it doesn't provide, like I said, any benefit to the neighbors that could not be provided having this facility in a commercial zone.
So at the P&Z meeting, when they had their suggestion to us, the big question, I think, was why wasn't legal office mentioned in the ordinance? Was it intentionally not mentioned, or was it considered that it was part of the group that was listed? And I don't think that question has ever been answered, really. I think you could look at it either way, from what I've been able to see. You know, the piece of property was for sale for some time, and nobody elected to buy it to return it back to a home. And maybe it was because of the cost to take out the driveway and make it look to its original form again. So I kind of think that if it had been feasible, somebody probably would have bought it and it would be remodeled back to be in its original structure again. So yeah, there's a lot of gray area there. I kind of tend to believe that the county probably has legs to stand on to go ahead and use it as a legal office, from what I've been able to see. But
I think my thing with this is, we've said from the beginning that our codes are not clear enough, right? And that was a charge for us, almost in a sense, to whatever we settle here. We need to go back and look and clarify these gray areas that we have. And so with that in mind, I think the bigger picture, if we step out and we look and we step away from the specifics of what it is that we're saying we can and can't do in this gray area that we aren't sure of, I'm going to ask a different question. Is this a good faith step that we can do to build a relationship with our county commissioners in our county that we share the same area with? What is the true disadvantage of us as the city allowing an attorney to use this home as an office? My concern is the safety of the alleyway, right? I mean, they had talked about turning the back of the property into a parking lot and using that, and to me that's where my red tape goes, because I'm like, well, I don't like the idea of an alleyway being used as a regular driveway, and truly changing it that much, but they already have parking at the front and they have on-street parking. So really, if we as a council are willing to put some stipulations in there, because I think we can, right? We're able to say, we'll provide you this permit, this special use permit, with the condition that you are not allowed to develop the back lawn, so that maybe it is easier someday if they decide to relinquish it, if the prosecutor attorney changes and they sell it, that it's less for someone to change it back into a home. But I just think it's important for us to not get stuck in the weeds, right? We have work to do with our ordinances to clean them and to clarify them. And for me, it is, I think in this instance, perhaps better to build a relationship by saying, we see, here's our compromise in the middle. We'll say yes with these stipulations, and then move from there to do our work to make it easier for others in the future. That's my opinion.
So my question is, from my understanding of it, I don't know why it's coming back to us. Because my understanding was we made a decision, if they want to appeal or whatever, they take it to a district court.
This is the next step.
This is the
Okay.
next step.
This is the next step. Okay, so that was not correct
And then-
information then.
And then, if
If we still deny it.
we still deny it,
Yeah.
and they want, then it goes to a judge.
Okay. So then my other question is more general than this is, when we grant a conditional use permit, how do we know it's being used that way? As a city?
Our ordinance officers.
Yeah, our ordinance and building inspector can at any time stop in and make sure it's being used to proper, what the decision
Stipulations
was.
are.
And
Yeah.
we have situations right now that we're dealing with property owners using properties.
Property, not for what it was intended to.
And improperties owned.
So I guess, again, my question would be, if they don't feel that it needs a conditional use permit, I don't know why we're hearing it. Again. Because if they don't feel like they don't need a conditional use permit, they can do what they need to do.
I think that
But not
decision may
us.
have been, they came to that conclusion after.
We had denied it.
After we had
Okay.
denied it.
Yeah.
Okay.
Anyone can speak to this?
He's staff.
Yeah, you're our staff, so come,
No.
you can go ahead and come forward.
You're staff, so I believe you can.
And if not, we'll find out.
Mayor, City Council. I thought a lot about this as well, and it used to be a medical facility, from what I was told prior. And like you said, nobody has bought it as a residence, it's still empty. They will be our prosecuting attorney for our felony cases. Currently, we use Walker Law, but shortly we'll transition to the new attorney. And you talked about, Mr. Hogue, you talked about investigations. We work with our felony prosecutor hand in hand in our investigations. We are at Walker Law constantly consulting on cases and going over cases. So I think that does fit. It would behoove us to have our felony prosecutor right across the street from us where we could either walk or drive to their office, which we currently can with Walker Law. So it would benefit the Weiser City Police Department greatly if they were in that building. Does anybody else have any questions for me?
So on a busy day, I drive by that office quite a bit, and for some reason, I always take note of how many cars are there. And I don't think I've ever seen over about 3 cars there. I mean, sometimes there's a police car, but I mean, it's not, I can't see where there's gonna be a lot of parking issues.
No.
Especially if you guys are walking
No.
anyway, but.
And it's nice for them to be able to come over to our office and meet with us too, so that's a short walk for them too, so. I think the benefit for both sides is great. My 2 cents.
Mayor, just a couple other things that I want to make sure everyone is considering that we haven't talked about yet. We've talked about our ordinance, we've we've talked about the county, we've talked about how it would, you know, the chief told us that it would be, you know, handy to have them in this building. I want us to consider the property owners that surround that residential property. And, you know, we can't do anything about whether someone has purchased it or not. But we need to take into consideration the rights of the adjacent property owners. And both at the Planning and Zoning Commission public hearing and at our public hearing, at least one of those neighbors came and testified against it. And again, it is a residential lot. And certainly we want to try and work with the county. But we need to remember, I think, that we represent everybody in the community. And if we allow this to happen in a residential area, that also creates a method of doing business. And I would encourage everybody to think about this. If this proposal was for a property 2 houses down from where you live, would you be in favor of it? Because we're opening the door for that to happen by allowing it.
If I can, I'm thank you for saying that, Larry, because I'm reminded that I need to disclose something. Joe Vaughn, who was the neighbor who had testified after our last meeting, sent me a text message or an email. I was trying to find it. So I need to disclose that he has had a conversation with me where he said, hey, and I'll paraphrase what it says, but it was, hey Sterling, I read an article in the newspaper about this rezoning and the reconsideration, and he had said his intent was not to create animosity and frustration, that he expressed his concern, but that if the city felt that it was something that needed to change, he would be okay with it. And then my response was my concerns that I told you about the alleyway and the parking, and he said, yes, that is very much what he's worried about, is the safety of the neighborhood there by what traffic may be increased or not. And so I have had that conversation with him. And then when I went and did a ride-along with our sergeant, I'll also disclose that. I did a ride-along, and we just had conversation about different things, and we made mention of there's the possibility of this office, and so much of his opinion is what the chief has already shared with us, that, you know, there is benefit, but not likely to be the negative impact that I think some of us worry about. I'm not in that situation. Just like you say, my home isn't up for two doors away from an attorney's office that potentially has high traffic. So I absolutely understand. We do need to be thinking as the city as a whole and what the citizens want. I also just wonder, I mean, McDonald's is across the street, so I don't know.
Jeb's is on the other.
Jeb's is on the other corner. There's a duplex on the side. I don't know if for this specific property, how much it changes by having an attorney. I absolutely think in other areas it does, but they're off of one of our main streets. And that is an awareness that I would hope that those property owners would know when they chose to purchase a house there. And the fact that it was an office, any person who purchased a house knew that there was an office there of some sort at the time. So, yeah, I mean, there's so many unknowns, you know, there is a lot of gray area in trying to understand what the right choice would be in this case. Which is why I go back to my, how do we, as a council, best work with the other entities in the community and serve our patrons, which are the citizens. So,
Good point. The only other thing I would say is that McDonald's and Jeb's are on commercial property. And
correct.
somewhere there's a dividing line between residential and commercial. And it just happens to be the middle of that street.
Just happens to be around this property. Yeah, that's a hot zone.
Well, I do believe a law office probably could be a pretty good neighbor. I mean, there's probably not any late night fights or calls for police because of disorderly conduct. And so, I mean, and I know the county has full intention of keeping it up and making it look as nice as they can. So, it wouldn't, I can't say that it would be a horrible neighbor by any means. But.
Any other comments? Would someone like to make a motion?
So what's in front of us is that we are either approving or denying the reconsideration. That's
Correct.
So in,
clarify for me what it is that we,
so your motion can basically be whatever your determination is. It doesn't have to be specifically on the reconsideration. It can be that we approve the use of this property, we deny the use of this property, we stand on our original whatever, and you don't even mention the approval or denial of using the property. It's kind of open-ended of where the council wants to take the decision.
She's talking to the attorney.
yeah, sure, for sure. Well, and so then I will ask a follow-up question of the council members. For those that are hesitant about allowing us to be used as an attorney, what is the compromise? What would be the meet in the middle that would say, we are willing to let you use it if, or is it just a blanket no?
Well, now I think you're kind of asking for a vote.
Well, no, so
If
what I'm
there's-
asking is
yeah.
like, for me, I'm willing to go forward with the condition that the backyard is not turned into a parking lot and that the alleyway is not a main thoroughfare for the workers of that office. That's important to me because I know it's important to the neighbors. So that for me is a conditional use, if you will, like a stipulation of it. But I don't know if you guys have your own versions of stipulations, like what is it or are you just saying, we're not happy with this, so it's a no, we're sticking with the original. I'm not asking for an official vote, but we're supposed to have a conversation here, correct?
Sure. Well, Sterling, to answer your question, I don't think anything has changed since we denied the request. So,
Yeah, nothing officially through ordinance changes
well,
whatsoever.
but nothing about the request has changed.
Gotcha.
They still want to put a prosecuting attorney's office in residential property that we denied. And I don't think anything has, the only thing that's changed is that they think that that there's a possibility that they wouldn't need a special use permit,
Right.
basically. So the facts of the request have not changed, so I'm not sure there's anything we could put in there that would tempt me to vote for it.
Okay.
I kind of feel the same as Larry on it. I just don't, nothing has changed. Our planning and zoning said no, we said no. So that's where I'm at.
I would concur.
So is there a motion on the floor that we'd like
Yeah.
to go forward?
Mayor, I'd move that the request from Washington County to reconsider our decision made on September 23rd, 2024 be denied.
Okay. Is there a second?
I would second it.
Okay, it's been moved and seconded. Could we have a roll call, please?
Councilmember Hopkins,
Yes.
Von Redhorst,
Yes.
Hoag,
Yes.
Han,
No,
Blackwell.
No.
Motion passed. Okay, moving on to the next item, to consider the Anderson overage for commercial project not to exceed $936.
Bill Scott's building.
Bill Scott's building, yes. There was different angles on it that we weren't prepared for when it came up. So the contractor had to go purchase two 45-degree bends for that 6-inch pipe, which caused some delays, and they had to go buy parts for the $936. I don't believe there's any way we could have predicted how it was gonna come out of there without tearing their bathroom apart and running a camera down it.
So this is basically just a repayment of an
This,
invoice.
this is just a overage on his contract, yes. We approved it for the $49,900, I believe it was, and so this overage, I'd have to ask for approval to make it.
I make a motion that we go ahead and approve this $936 for Anderson Construction for the overage, for the unforeseen parts that they had to buy.
I'll second.
It's been moved and seconded. Could we have a roll call, please?
Councilmember Hoag,
Yes.
Han,
Yes,
Blackwell,
Yes.
Von Redhorst,
Yes.
Hopkins.
Yes.
Okay, motion passed. The next item is to consider the 2025 liquor, beer, and wine licenses. And I believe you have a list of those licenses in front of you.
we get to do it all in one?
We get to do it all
Yes,
in one.
and just make sure we ask the chief if he has any objections.
Yes. Chief, would you mind coming forward?
Mayor, City Council, I don't have the list in front of me, but I don't have any objections to anybody that's currently on the list. So,
The only new one was the Sunnyside
Right.
Sips,
the one
and they
that I
just,
already,
they were just before council. Just a
Yeah,
month
they're
ago.
actually
I
right in
recommend
there.
that as well, so.
Is there any place that doesn't serve alcohol in this town anymore? This looks like every single
The police
open
department.
business that we have across the whole city.
Well, I can think of one or two.
So I would just like to add that for the last couple of years, we have not been doing the servers, the alcohol beverage seller server free training. And so I do have that lined up for January 10th for all the retail and servers. They'll be putting it on at the Vendome, so they'll get a copy of this with their permit.
We had put that on about 3 or 4 years ago, and it was well attended, and it was very good information for the.
And it's a need with all the new legislative.
So,
Thank you.
Thank you.
So I'd make the motion that we okay the liquor, beer, and wine licenses for all the applicants, and the way I see it, they're all renewals, right? So,
I would second that.
Okay, it's been moved and seconded. All in favor?
Aye.
All opposed? Motion passed. Next is to consider the Federal Aviation Administration and Weiser Airport memo of understanding. Mr. Mike.
So what this is for is the FAA would like to put a weather camera on our beacon. They would maintain the camera, they would maintain the whole system and take care of it. The only thing we would have to do is supply the power for the camera. And so under this MOU, that's what we would do, is provide the power and notification if it gets damaged and that small stuff. So I don't imagine that camera's gonna take a lot of power, but we still have to prove it. So I've talked with Jim and the other airport members, and they all agree that having a camera out there for weather is a great idea, especially with the extra traffic we've been getting at the airport.
I'd motion that we approve the Federal Aviation Admin and Weiser Airport memorandum of understanding.
second?
Okay, it's been moved and seconded. All in favor?
Aye.
All opposed? Motion carries. Next is to consider resolution 697, the Idaho gym grant application. Mr. Mike.
So what this is through Sarita, these grants are provided and designated through Sarita for businesses to extend city facilities. This was actually applied for by Parker & Parker at the RV park to run the new water main underneath the highway and extend to the end of their property. They had received the go-ahead for that. Unfortunately, the time on that has expired. It had to be used by the 16th of this month. So what we did was talk to Treasure Valley Farms, where they extended the sewer main underneath the railroad tracks there at West 3rd. They filled out the application. It seems as the approval is going to go through. What this will do is give them a $50,000 grant to help pay for that line that went under. The thing they come to us for is we have to sponsor this grant. So the money will come to us, and then we will have to pay Treasure Valley Farms. We do have a grant line that we can do that through. The small business grant line can be used for that.
So then we're responsible for making sure the money then is spent as was intended, is that correct, or is it?
No, so they provide all the receipts for this already. It's just a reimbursement. They've spent a little over $400,000 doing it, so they just have to meet the match by 50, and they exceeded that match by a significant amount. So it's already done. The project's already almost all but completed. All we have to do is pretty much sign off on it. We've inspected it. The line is good. The placement's good. Everything about it is where it's supposed to be. So they would receive this as soon as we sign off on the rest of it, except the sewer main from them.
Okay.
And we do have a little QLP from the engineering to accept it.
It's kind of our way of just getting grant money
It
into
is
our
to help
local
them.
industry that supports us and does things to help our
Yes.
infrastructure as well.
And where it's at the end of the year, if we lose this year's,
Yeah.
if we don't do it, nobody would get it at the end of this year, and since it's available. And Parker can reapply in the first of the year to go ahead and try to, go back through the process again.
Okay.
So
Nice.
it's not really taken away from anybody either.
Just using some of those funds that are out there.
To enhance the city.
Yeah.
It does put the sewer on the south side of the railroad tracks, which is quite a project. Have you ever seen how they do that? They have to run a steel pipe underneath that at a certain depth, and to the railroad specifications called a jack and bore. So
Fascinating.
it is very interesting to see when it's happening.
I motion that we accept Resolution 697 Idaho grant, gem grant application.
Second.
Okay, it's been moved and seconded. Could we have a roll call, please?
Councilmember Von Redhorst,
Yes.
Blackwell,
Yes.
Hopkins,
Yes.
Hope,
Yes.
Han.
Yes.
Passed. Next item is to consider the water department trailer quote not to exceed $12,750. And Mr. Taylor, would you mind coming forward?
Hello, I'm trying to purchase a dump trailer. Actually, the electrical bought a dump trailer similar to this, a little bit smaller, and I think it's worked out very well for Wayne, and it'd be very handy and a very good asset for us. We went over to the Hitch and Go over there in Payette, a local business, and they gave us a really good price of $12,750.
He's willing to give you a spare tire though?
Will,
This
for
time?
20 cans of soup.
What?
For 20 cans, we'll get a spare tire.
You did not sweet talk him enough last time. We couldn't get a spare tire
Wait,
this year,
wait.
but this year he just needs soup.
Wayne had to buy his own.
You can borrow Wayne's stuff.
It's all about time of year, I guess. Jeez. Sorry, keep going.
No problem. But basically, that I believe it'd be a valuable asset for the water department. That way I don't have to hunt down and wait for a dump truck to get dumped at the dump before we can start using. We can get on jobs and start moving a little faster.
What are you gonna pull it with?
My F-250, it's got the overload springs and set up for that, so we do have a truck to handle it.
Why can't you borrow Wayne's?
It's a little bit smaller, but it's Wayne's. He might need it too.
So, is this something that was included in your budget?
I have money in my budget to cover the cost, but I didn't specifically have it laid out in the budget when we presented it. It was part of my other machinery line item.
So it's a more vague equipment purchase type thing? Okay, so yeah, it's budgeted, it just
Right.
wasn't singled out as this particular trailer.
Yes.
Thought about on the wish list.
Any other questions for Bill?
No, the specs look like it's a pretty good trailer. I think
Yeah.
It was 16,000.
Yeah, it'll be able to haul 5 yards of material, just basically the same size as our little dump truck, and the one we were looking at, it's got a little heavier duty bottom. It does have ramps for loading equipment, and so we can actually put our little skid steer, same with Wayne, into the back of it and haul it around if we needed to, and
They're very handy.
7-gauge floor feels really thick. That's awesome. I think that is, maybe that's just me.
So I make a motion that we approve the 12,750 to the water department for the dump trailer.
And 20 cans of soup for a spare.
well, food.
I would second that.
It's been moved and seconded. Do we have a roll call, please?
Councilmember Han,
Yes.
Von Redhorst,
Yes.
Hopkins,
Yes.
Hope,
Yes.
Blackwell.
Yes.
Okay,
Thank you.
motion passed. And now, the electric department would like us to consider an F-250 crew quote, crew count quote, not to exceed 52,807. And Mr. Wayne, would you mind coming forward?
I would like to say that we budgeted the 55,000 for this truck for this year.
I just want to know if you're getting a spare tire.
I hope so. But
I'll
20
donate
cans of soup, you know. No, that, like I say, we budgeted 55,000 last year to purchase this truck, and the reason I'm wanting to purchase a bigger, all we have is half-ton pickups, and like Bill was saying, now we have the dump trailer and we're pulling the Vactron, so we need a bigger truck to pull it around. And it's a 4-door truck for the crew, and that, and I find it'll be, and we're replacing an 07 truck that probably by the time we get this one will be a 20-year-old truck. So,
This is the official quote, or is this?
yes,
And is this outfitted with everything, or will you need?
everything that'll suit, yes.
Okay.
Mhm.
Okay.
We'll be able to take boxes and racks and stuff off the other truck and fit on this one.
Okay.
Yes.
Beautiful. Mr. Mayor, I motion, if there's no further discussion, that the electric department, we approve the electric department's request for an F-250 crew not to exceed $52,807.
Second.
It's been moved and seconded. Could we have a roll call, please?
Councilmember Blackwell,
Yes.
Hopkins,
Yes.
Hope,
Yes.
Von Redhorst,
Yes.
Han.
Yes.
Okay, motion passed.
Thank you.
Thank you. Okay, next is to consider the fire department transfer of funds.
Okay.
And
So what we'll be doing is out of these lines, I think I broke it down pretty well in this to show you. We will move those funds within the general fund to bring the line item for the fire department up to 289,729 to match what they asked for. This will not increase, decrease, this don't do anything to the final end of the budget. This just puts that line item up to that amount by using the funds from the others. The building improvement line was the biggest transfer for the $9,000, and that was actually set aside for the carpet that we ended up getting out of last year's budget, so that's one's pretty easy. The other ones, I sat down and talked to some of the supervisors with this even and went over a few things, and these are the lines we agreed they could take those cuts pretty safely. They wouldn't make them too uncomfortable. So, like I said, in the end, it's not really doing anything at all, staying within the general fund.
This is for next year's budget, right?
This is for the year we're in, 25.
Yeah.
We start
Oh,
25
yeah,
in
that's true,
October.
sorry, for 2025?
Yeah.
So to cover that discrepancy from the agreed upon, okay,
Yes. And this would just be a line item move within.
within our own things, yeah.
Yeah,
Okay.
me and Margie and I can do this
Great.
with your approval.
I was like, no.
And
with the approval.
the total that we have at the bottom is the total agreed upon?
Yes, I believe it was 289,000 is what I was told, and just to make it rounded up, it was a little easier, and they went over last year some amount, so
Okay.
it was just a round number.
Well, my thanks to the other department heads for allowing us to shift the money around. I can't imagine that the amount you had budgeted to begin with was anything extra, and to step up to the plate and allow these changes to be made. We thank you for doing that.
We'll get you a trailer and a truck.
Wrong.
Department's wrong.
Well, we'll get
But thank you.
Donuts.
Donuts, there we go.
No, you can borrow one.
All from within the general fund. This doesn't
Okay.
affect electric, water,
Yeah.
sewer. None of the revenue funds that can help with this.
I'll make a motion that we okay the transfer of these line item funds to meet the fire department shortfall there.
I'll second.
Okay, it's been moved and seconded. Could we have a roll call, please?
Councilmember Hopkins,
Yes.
Poe,
Yes.
Han,
Yes,
Blackwell,
Yes.
Von Redhorst.
Yes.
Okay, thank you, motion passed.
stay on your toes.
And then last is to consider expenditure for Maverick welcome sign not to exceed $7,200. This is not a welcome sign for Maverick, it's a welcome to the city of Weiser sign that Maverick has paid
Yes,
at
so
least $6,000.
In August of 2023, when they paid for their building permit, they agreed to pay for the third welcome sign coming in from the south of Weiser by the Maverick. So they did pay that. And so this is just expending the $6,000 that they put in for the sign, and then the other $1,200 would be the installation and the material to install the sign.
So that all three entrances to our city will finally have a matching themed sign that matches, because they're not all the same, but yeah.
So where we had brought in the money in 2023, we did not specifically have anywhere to expend it from moving forward, and that's what Sterling was talking about earlier when economic development kind of brought this to light, that now with it in production, I do believe we're just gonna move funds around within to expend this money.
Yes, so I'll just pay for it out of the street department's sign fund pretty much is what we'll do. And then next year we can transfer the money to, it'll be a GL movement to the street department for the $6,000 from the general fund to the street department. It's not,
Yeah.
that's an internal move that we can do.
Well, I can tell you the Weiser Economic Development Committee is very excited to hopefully be done with signs. Because I think they've talked about it for 10 years. Heavily for the last 4. So with that, I would motion that we accept and approve the expenditure for the Maverick, oh my goodness. I motion that we approve the expenditure for Maverick welcome sign not to exceed $7,200.
Second that.
Okay, it's been moved and seconded. Could we have a roll call,
Who was
please?
the second?
Katie?
Katie?
Oh, roll call.
Yes.
Councilmember Hoag,
Yes.
Blackwell,
Yes.
Hopkins,
Yes.
Von Redhorst,
Yes.
Han.
yes.
Okay, motion passed. And now,
I'd like to make a motion that we adjourn, turn off the lights and go home.
Second that.
second, all in favor?
Aye.